during the liberation struggle in the early 1980s in that regard, 1981 up to 1986. So the idea is for the president to let you know that, hey, yes, the People Power movement did not start in 2017 or 2018 or 2019. No way. The People Power movement started a long time ago. He's trying to show you that, hey, I'm the people's government and not the other people on the other side like Bobby Wine and Kizza Besigye. So that's that. Our next conversation, we are going to be talking about defining consent and fighting the rape culture at Uganda's universities. Well, in Apple TV's aptly named series, The Morning Show, one of the lead characters, Steve Carroll, takes one of his assistants to his room. She assumes he's mentoring her. He assumes she wants to sleep with him. When he attempts, in her mind, she feels powerless to stop him, while he thinks she was okay with it. When it gets to time to own up, the experiences are different and collide. Recently, there have been shocking revelations about rape on social media, with victims outing their abusers. What caught our eye was the the issues that happened at Makerere University, with girls right there who thought people were actually, and their friends were being defiled in that regard. So we need to understand what consent is at universities, because someone coming to your room is not consent. Now, the University of Michigan Sexual Awareness and Prevention Center promotes the use of affirmative consent in its sexual assault prevention education. What does affirmative consent mean? This is when someone agrees, gives permission, or says yes to sexual activity with other persons. Consent is always freely given, and all people in a sexual situation must feel that they are able to say yes or no, or stop the sexual activity at any point. Now, joining us for a discussion on consent and fighting rape culture, we have Marion Chirabo, the gender minister at Makerere University Guild, and she joins me right about now. A very good morning, Marion.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So right here on this show, there are people watching right there at home, and they do not know what sexual consent is. They cannot tell the difference between sexual consent, rape, and sexual harassment. What's the difference, and what's the correlation?
Well, there is, I would say that they are sort of intertwined. One leads to another. Sexual assault is whereby I come and without your consent, I start to grope you. I start to give you, you know, there's some parts of your body that you can touch and someone gets what you're trying to do.
True.
Like if I grope your breasts, if I grab your butt and things, that is sexual assault. But however, that is sexual assault, and can it happen from the same gender? In accordance to the sexual offences.
Can the same gender assault me?
Yes, the same gender can assault you. I would like to take you to, recently 2 days ago, there was a story running on BBC about a student who in London who had actually sexually assaulted about 100, and he was male, 168.
Was he Asian?
Yeah, he was Asian.
I think I saw the story, yes.
So mostly he would just find drunk men along the street.
Take them to his apartment and then assault them.
He would first drug you further so that you have no recollection. He had a drug that really gives you short-term memory. You do not remember, you do not recall. And actually what helped them get all the victims was the video recordings that he used to make. And when they talked to most of the victims, they did not remember anything that had happened to them. So yes, you can be assaulted by the same gender. Even men can be assaulted by both men and women. And
the women can also assault themselves.
Yes, women can also assault other women, which is not right, no matter your views about homosexuality or right. The fact is that no one else should impose himself on the personal sovereignty of another person's body. We all have autonomy over our bodies. We all have sovereignty over our bodies. As virtue of human beings, our bodies belong to us. And therefore, no one has a right to actually attack that sovereignty and assault you.
Indeed. So besides bride price, what are the other factors that have exacerbated sexual violence against women?
The biggest cause, and you'll find it everywhere in every research, is patriarchy. The fact that for a long time we have lived in a society where, and I would just say this because of the fact that in most of our societies women have not had voices.
True.
And that is why you will find that the women have resorted to going on social media to have their voices heard when it comes to sexual assault. So it comes from a society that values male dominance and and actually violence, like the man is dominant and therefore he has a kind of monotony over violence, you know. So in this society, women are not really given that much of importance or respect.
So social acceptance plays a big role.
Yes, it plays a big role that if you get married, you lose your rights to your body, you know. Not even when you get married, that if a man wants something from you, he has to be aggressive and constantly. You've had the notions of the first time you tell a woman yes, she will not accept, and therefore you have to go up. That is also perpetrates it, because in other words, you are devaluing a woman's no. You are saying that a woman has no right to say no, and therefore you have to keep on pursuing her in order to get a yes. That is actually rape. If you had to ask about over 10 times for her to get you to sleep with you, she might have not slept with you with that absolute consent. You know, you might have created a situation where she feels that she's compelled to accept, and you have in essence raped her.
Wow, Marion, these are jaw-dropping allegations in that regard.
They shouldn't be, because if you follow,
if you're looking at this situation, a married couple,
Yes.
because you talked about social acceptance. In
Yes.
Uganda, if a couple is married and the man forces himself on the wife,
Yes.
and the wife tries to make noise over it,
Yeah.
the society will say, no, you're married, your man has a right over you. It seems like people do not know what consent is, when a woman should consent to sex, because they feel like, I'm married to you, and I should have sex with you. I gave bride price to your parents, so you are like my property. Do you think like the issues like bride price make women objects?
Yes, I do believe they contribute. I will first of all tell you, according to the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, it will show you that a quarter of women, that their first sexual encounters have actually been rape. That is how normalized it is.
Wow.
So when you get into a marriage, is it to say that you are saying that a person can be sold and bought? Because that is what you're saying, because you paid bride price, somehow you have ownership over her. Don't you think that is also a form of a modern day slavery? Because you're saying that I can buy and I can purchase you at a certain price.
Because even growing up, Marion, I would hear so many stories associated with domestic violence. A man beats up the wife,
and he thinks because
and he
he
would justify it by
paid
saying,
price.
I paid bride price, you belong to me.
Exactly, and that is why I'm pointing you to the part of patriarchy. The fact that we live in a society where that men feel like they dominate and therefore they must control, and in their controlling they use violence to control.
Wow, how best can we do away with this culture?
I think most importantly it comes from an overhaul. How do we look at women in society? Do we look at them less human? Are we saying that in our society that women do not have autonomy over who they are and their bodies? You cannot, for example, I would tell you that you have gone to primary schools whereby they start early placing the gender roles that, let me say, you could remember when you were in primary that they would say a woman does this and a man does that. You see, a man pays the school fees and all that, and then a woman washes the dishes and cooks. But in our modern day society, you'll see that that is not true.
Things are changing.
That things have changed. And therefore, what we're teaching our children should also change. You know, you will find that a good number of households are headed by moms. So is that to say that when you're teaching a child that a man should be the head of the household, you are actually discriminating, because most of them, there's a good number of them whose households are actually led by women.
So Marion,
so the way that we see women in society has to change, right from our upbringing and right from how we are bringing up especially our boy child to respect women, and actually to see that women have autonomy over their bodies as they do.
Yes.
Because when you go anywhere without a shirt on, it's rare for you to live in fear of a woman assaulting you because of that.
This is mind-boggling. So what should I do if I or someone I know was sexually assaulted? As we wrap up, we've run out of time.
Yeah. First of all, you need to give them the support they need, because most of the times, and I will say that before we even go any further, to me, the women who came up on Twitter, on Facebook, those women are my heroes, because it takes a lot of courage. You face, we have a rape culture in Uganda that perpetrates it. The first time person comes out, it's either they first ask, the public first asks if she deserved it or not. And ways they ask it is that, what was she putting on? Where was she going? Or why could she go to a boy's room in
so instead of blaming the perpetrator, they blame the person who was abused. And
you will find that it's not only them who do that, because you see that some of these stories, people have gotten assaulted in hospitals and in police custody.
Indeed, Marion Chirabo is the Minister of Gender at the Makerere University Guild. I shall have you tomorrow to talk about the same. We haven't exhausted everything when it comes to consent and sexual violence. I come from a family of 4. I'm the eldest, 3 sisters. So this is a very, very contentious topic that I would like to continue with tomorrow. Marion Chirabo is the University Guild, is a Minister of Gender at the Makerere University Guild right there. So she shall be making another appearance on the show tomorrow morning. So do make sure that you're watching tomorrow, Friday day. My name is Romeo Busiku, and unfortunately we've come to the end of the show. Up next, BBC Money Daily. Good morning.